So let us start with the session today. Dr. Arshad Hussain is from the civil engineering section of the University Polytechnic. He will be speaking to you about environment, about health with environment, and about our responsibility for community, etc. Dr. Arshad is a very vibrant academician. He's looking after the NSS program also, and he has been coordinating our environmental studies courses for a very long time now. So thank you very much for your time, Dr. Arshad. This is the first technical session per se for our course, and our participants will be very happy interacting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much also for inviting me again. Good morning to all the participants. We'll be
Good
straight
morning,
away.
sir.
Good
Uh,
morning, sir.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning. Good morning.
Good morning,
All
sir.
of you,
Good
all of you
morning,
are
sir.
requested
Good
to
morning,
mute
sir.
yourself.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Please mute yourself, all of you. Uh, all of you are requested to mute your microphones, please. Oh, Dr. Hemlata Sani, please mute yourself. Okay. So, Dr. Faiza has given me a very nice introduction. Thank you, the Academic Staff College, the Human Resources Development Center. Somebody's mic is open. Hemlata Sani, please mute yourself. Okay. So, I'll be sharing my presentation with you now.
पार्टिसिपेंट्स प्लीज बी ऑन म्यूट एवरीबॉडी। हेमलता मैम, अगर आपका अनम्यूट हुआ तो मैं आउट कर दूंगा मैम आपको। प्लीज, आपका बार बार अनम्यूट हो रहा है, यू हैव टू प्लीज म्यूट योरसेल्फ। हेमलता मैम, अपना म्यूट करिए, आवाज आ रही है आपकी यहाँ पर।
So the participants, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
okay. Now mute yourself.
Yes, sir.
All of you, please mute yourself. So the topic of my presentation today in this faculty induction program is environmental consciousness, key to sustainability. Uh, Dr. Faiza already introduced me. My name is Dr. Arshad Hussain. I am Associate Professor of Civil Engineering. My field of specialization is Environmental Engineering in Aligarh Muslim University. And today I'll be talking to you about the importance of environment, what effect pollution is having on our day-to-day life, our day-to-day health, and how we can bring about sustainable world, a target that or a vision that has been set up by the global community by the year 2060. So when we talk about this transition from today's pollution to change in the human attitudes and human behavior, which can lead us to a better future for this planet Earth and its habitant, that is us, in the year 2060. It is not an impossible target to achieve, but it is certainly a difficult thing to do, which can be brought about by sustained efforts by all of us. So, when we talk about sustainability, it can be defined as the capacity of Earth's natural systems and human cultural systems to survive, flourish, and adapt into the very long term future. हम अपने ग्रोथ को, अपने डेवलपमेंट को, अपने इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ को, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट को रोक नहीं सकते, लेकिन इन सारी चीज़ों के साथ साथ एनवायरनमेंट को खराब होने से भी हम बचाना चाहते हैं, ताकि हमें एक बेहतर कल, एक बेहतर भविष्य मिले। और पर्यावरण को सुरक्षित रखने के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ये सस्टेनेबल अप्रोच इस वक्त दुनिया के अधिकतर देशों में अडॉप्ट की जा रही है। भारत में भी ये सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट, सस्टेनेबिलिटी की बात हो रही है। तो अगर हम कहें कि हमें पर्यावरण को बचाना है, एनवायरनमेंट को प्रोटेक्ट करना है, so what are the three basic principles of sustainability? The first concept is nature has sustained itself for billions of years by using renewable sources of energy. We talk about solar energy and conserving all the living species on the planet Earth, that is called biodiversity. and nutrient cycling. Nutrient cycling means all the nutrients which are present on the earth, which are required for the growth of plants, for the growth of animals and human beings, that are the biota. That is the first concept. Then the second concept is our lives and economies depend on the energy from the sun. So that is sun is considered to be the basic source of all energy, and all the natural resources and natural services that are available and provided by the planet Earth or the Mother Earth to its inhabitants is or are very important to us. So when we talk about environment, environment is nothing but the surroundings. Whatever is existing all around us is called as the environment. And what is environmental science? It is an interdisciplinary science subject which from we get the ideas from the various natural branches of science, that is ecology, biology, geology, chemistry, some branches of social science including geography, politics and economics, and humanities which includes ethics and philosophy. So here in this slide I have tried to sum up the concepts of the different subjects that we study and what we should have the knowledge about these subjects to understand the environmental studies, and then on the basis of environmental studies the awareness is created, then we learn from environmental science and engineering. The knowledge of all these subjects is important. What do we learn in environmental science? The first thing is that earth is having a life support system. The air that is available in an envelope existing around the earth that we call as the atmosphere, and its natural constituents of air, which includes 79% nitrogen and about 20 to 21% oxygen, that is very, very important for respiration and survival of all living beings. Then water is an essential requirement for all life forms to exist and survive, and that we define as the hydrosphere. And then the natural land area, the soil, the rocks, we call as the lithosphere, and the various living beings, a part of the biosphere. So we have to study in environmental science that how these earth life support system or ecosystem components are being affected by the day-to-day human activities, by human population, what type of pollution we are creating by our activities in these ecosystem components. So how the environment affects us and how nature works, the human population which is growing by the day, this overgrowing population and its effect on the environment, then how we have to deal with these environmental problems, how we can begin to live with more sustainably, that can be sustained for a longer period of time, is what we learn in this subject of environmental science. So when we talk about nature's survival strategies, which are contained or enshrined in these three principles of sustainability, the first, the primemost thing is the reliance on solar energy. Because solar energy is considered to be a natural form of energy, it is abundantly available, it is a renewable source of energy, and it's never ending. So the sun provides warmth, and all the agricultural production that takes place by this process of photosynthesis, wherein chlorophyll is required, solar energy is required, water is required, and nutrients are required for it. Biodiversity, all the species which are existing on the planet Earth must be protected, must be conserved, because every species have a role to play in maintaining the food chain or food web on the planet Earth. Some species are already extinct. You must have heard about once upon a time the giant mammoths and dinosaurs say moved freely across the length and breadth of this planet Earth, but now they have completely vanished. And some other wildlife species are also endangered now, in the danger of being extinct. And we work relentlessly, the biodiversity people, the scientists, they work for the conservation of these endangered species. The government also take up projects, for example, Project Tiger for the conservation of tiger, because which has become an endangered species now. There are several species of plants and trees also which are on the brink of being extinct. So, as a scientific community, it should be our aim to protect these endangered species if we want to have sustainability. Chemical cycling or biogeochemical cycles is nothing but the circulation of chemicals from the environment to the organisms and then back to the environment. It is called also called as a nutrient cycling. So, for plant growth, you know that we require nitrogen and phosphorus. For our own growth and development, the human beings require certain minerals, certain vitamins, certain enzymes are necessary for the various mechanism and processes going in our body. So all these chemical changes, these biogeochemical cycles are very, very important for the planet Earth, again to maintain the sustainable development. So over the last thousands and thousands of years, since the Earth has been formed by the nature, and we have evoluted from the early man to the modern age uh, in the form what we are existing today. You can consider that many species, like I just mentioned, the case of dinosaurs and certain uh, flora and fauna also, they have become extinct today, and some are endangered. So this Homo sapiens is what the early men used to be called the scientific terminology for human beings. So the first Homo sapien or the man, the records are being found 200,000 years ago. So if we want to maintain sustainability on Earth, we have to focus on these three principles, which are I am emphasizing or focusing again and again: solar energy, biodiversity, and chemical cycling. So sustainability has certain key components. One is the natural capital, in which solar energy is one of the important source of energy. There are certain natural resources like minerals, and which are available below the surface of the earth in the form of ores, which we can purify in the metallurgical industry and prepare metals out of it. Then fossil fuels, the crude oil, coal are some of the natural resources which we can utilize to generate more forms of energy. But the ever increasing human population is responsible for degradation of this natural capital, and the scientists are working for finding solutions which is required for maintaining environmental sustainability. So we can say that natural capital is a sum of natural resources and natural services. So we have to now identify, as shown in this slide, what are the different components of, say, natural resources and what are the natural services. So here you can see that air, we have talked about water, we have talked about non-renewable minerals, oil and gas. Somebody's mic is open. Please mute your mic, please. So these different forms of energy, the nutrient recycling, the life, biodiversity, population control, these are called the natural services. So when we require that we have to produce more and more food for ever increasing population, then the nutrient recycling is must. We have to maintain the nutrient, say, concentration in the soil to have good quality of soil, improve the fertility of soil so that we can get good food grain production. And population control is and pest control is necessary for reducing the burden of the on these natural resources, as well as the damage that these pests cause on the agricultural production needs to be stopped. So that is also the benefit we get when we do the pest control. So as far as this nutrient cycling is concerned, you know that there is a recycling of animal and dead plant matter which continuously takes place. So the decomposition of the dead animals and the dead vegetable matter takes place with the help of bacteria, and then it is converted into nitrogen, and this fixation of nitrogen takes place, the inorganic matter in the soil. Then again this is utilized by the plant's growth, and these in plants are consumed by the animals again. So this organic matter is contained in the animal. So this cycle continuously goes on in nature, which is important for sustainability and to conserve the environment. Now, when we talk about natural capital degradation, this is due to various requirements. The human beings, ever-growing population require large amount of food grains. So we need land for growth of agricultural products. So again, large say area of forests being cut down to grow agricultural products. Then again, we require natural habitat for the human beings. So for the requirement of wood in the construction industry and for paper production also sometimes, the large quantity of trees being cut down. So when we cut down the forests, it is having a negative effect on the environment. It is very obvious, all of us know about it, that the trees are considered to be the lungs of the environment. So during the process of photosynthesis, the trees produce oxygen, which is very, very important for our respiration process, for our growth and survival, and to maintain the quality of air in the environment. So when we cut down the trees, the forest area gets reduced. It is nothing but natural capital degradation. So some of the causes of environmental problems that exist on this earth today, obviously population growth, and that too at a very fast rate, is a problem. Then unsustainable resource use, that is another problem. Poverty, yes, again a problem. Then using the services uh, in the marketplace according to the market price, which not include the environmental costs of the economic goods. So all the activities that we are doing having some amount of environmental footprint. So we have to focus on how to reduce this footprint. Then trying to manage and simplify nature without having a knowledge about it. So creating awareness is very, very important. So then what is the solution? A path to sustainability. That means we have a good natural capital provided by the nature earth, but we have to reduce the degradation of this natural capital. We have to reduce the cutting down of trees, and we have to create awareness by using the scientific principles, by using the latest engineering and technological tools. These environmental problems are solved and can be solved by the existing scientific community, and we are working on it. So when we talk about earth's resources, what is the meaning of earth's resources? जो भी चीज हमें पर्यावरण से मिलती है अपनी जरूरतों को पूरा करने के लिए, वो रिसोर्स कहलाती है। और क्योंकि हमें अर्थ से मिल रहा है तो उसे नेचुरल रिसोर्स कहा जाता है, जो नेचुरली हमें मिले। जैसे सूरज की रोशनी है, इट इज द अर्थ रिसोर्स, नेचुरल रिसोर्स। और कुछ इनडायरेक्ट यूज करते हैं हम, जैसे पेट्रोलियम का इस्तेमाल करते हैं अपनी गाड़ियों को, ऑटोमोबाइल्स को चलाने के लिए, या इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेशन में ऑयल बेस्ड प्लांट्स के अंदर, तो वो इनडायरेक्ट अर्थ की रिसोर्सेज जिसका इस्तेमाल हम अपने बेनिफिट के लिए कर रहे हैं। परपेचुअल रिसोर्स, सोलर एनर्जी को परपेचुअल रिसोर्स भी कहा जाता है। तो इसमें से कुछ नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज रिन्यूएबल हैं, यानी कि जिसका सोर्स या जिसका स्रोत अबंडेंटली अवेलेबल है नेचर में, ये कभी ना समाप्त होने वाली, कभी खत्म ना होने वाली। जैसे अगर हम एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ना करें जंगलों का, तो फॉरेस्ट एक रिन्यूएबल रिसोर्स है, ग्रासलैंड्स एक नेचुरल रिसोर्स है, साफ हवा, साफ मिट्टी जिसमें हम अपनी फसलें उगा रहे हैं, दीज आर ऑल रिन्यूएबल सोर्सेज ऑफ एनर्जी। इसके अलावा ये जो हवा से जो हम एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, विंड एनर्जी, जमीन के नीचे जो गर्मी है उससे प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं जियोथर्मल, पानी से एनर्जी हाइड्रो पावर, बायोमास से जो एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं बायोमास एनर्जी, और सूरज की रोशनी से डायरेक्टली फोटोवोल्टेइक सेल्स का इस्तेमाल करके सोलर, ये सब रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के एग्जांपल्स हैं। सस्टेनेबल यील्ड मींस द हाई रेट एट विच वी कैन यूज अ रिन्यूएबल रिसोर्स विदाउट रिड्यूसिंग अवेलेबल सप्लाई। यानी कि अगर हम हवा का यूज कर रहे हैं विंड एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस करने के लिए, तो ये हवा कहां से आएगी? हवा का मतलब क्या है? व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ विंड? एयर इज अवेलेबल एवरीवेयर, सो व्हेन देयर इज अ मूवमेंट ऑफ एयर due to variation in temperature or due to variation in pressure, the air flows from one place to another place, and it is called that the wind is blowing. So in the coastal areas, the wind velocity is quite high. There we can install the wind mills for generation of wind energy. Similarly, all other examples of renewable sources of energy can be utilized, can be tapped, and they are abundantly available in nature. But the main focus for the scientists is that we are certainly producing renewable energy from these different sources, but we have to cut down the cost. We have to bring down the cost of this energy production by renewable sources of energy up to a level that is comparable to the energy we are producing by conventional methods. अगर एक थर्मल पावर प्लांट में हम 1 यूनिट बिजली का 6 रुपए में या 7 रुपए में प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, तो सोलर एनर्जी, विंड एनर्जी या जियोथर्मल या हाइड्रो पावर से हमें इसके कंपैरेबल प्राइस पर प्रोड्यूस करनी पड़ेगी और पब्लिक को सप्लाई करनी पड़ेगी, तभी उसका एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी होगी और तभी उसका यूटिलाइजेशन लार्ज लेवल पर हो पाएगा और हम पर्यावरण को प्रोटेक्ट करने की दिशा में आगे बढ़ पाएंगे। अदरवाइज अगर उससे डबल कॉस्ट में हम प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, 15 रुपए में प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, तो फिर एक आम आदमी या एक विकासशील देश में एक जो गरीबी की रेखा के पर निर्भर कर रहा है, उसके आसपास का व्यक्ति है, वो उस पावर को एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर पाएगा। That means it will not be producing the benefit that we want it to happen. So for that, the scientists are working day and night to cut down the cost for the producing energy by these sources, that is called the renewable sources. As far as the non-renewable energy sources are concerned, from coal in the thermal power plants, then we have gas-based plants and oil-based plants, and nuclear power plants also are there. So all these sources of energy are considered to be non-renewable. Resources are limited, and we assume that they will be finished one day. Though some of the scientists are saying that as the old sources of coal or oil are being utilized, new sources are being found every day in different parts of the world. But still, we consider them to be the non-renewable energy sources. So in this slide, you can see a bar chart has been prepared where we have classified resources into different categories. The main category is perpetual, which has been divided into solar energy and wind energy and water energy. As far as the non-renewable energy is concerned, it has been divided into fossil fuels, metallic minerals, and non-metallic minerals. Then the third is the renewable source of energy, which is we can tap from air, water, soil, and plants and animals. So these are the different resources that are existing on the earth, which we have been utilizing for thousands of years, and now this utilization has increased to a large level because of the ever-growing population, and most of our population now living in the cities or moving to the cities require large, say, quantity of this electricity or energy requirement, which is to be, say, generated somehow. So we'll be focusing more if you want to sustain life, if you want to, say, introduce the sustainability, we have to try to find the solutions. And when we talk about solutions, these three magic words R, and R, three R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. These are considered to be the golden words of sustainable development or to achieve sustainability, because whatever natural resources we are using, we have to reuse them again and again. We have to reduce their usage, and whatever useful material is available from the waste that we produce every day, we have to recycle that to make it again reusable. And in this way, we can reduce the carbon footprint of the various human activities that we are adding up, resulting in all round pollution. So reusing is a very important thing. Here you can see that child is standing with the glass bottles in his hands, and these glass bottles, once uh, their contents are emptied, they have been used, they can again be recycled to produce more bottles. So because glass can be melted and can be new articles can be prepared. Then plastic material, the rubber and other metals, they can be recycled to form useful products. So this symbol that you are seeing, this is a symbol of recycling, which is very, very important for achieving sustainability. And in different countries, uh, the scientists are finding different levels of sustainability, or rather, what we call as the unsustainability. Because higher is the economic growth, more is the use that we are, or the consumption of the natural capital is there, and more pollution is caused by the human beings. So the countries where the economic growth is high, where industrial growth is high, their pollution is also more. And in countries where the population is high, again, the pollution is high. And now, as you know, that in India, we have surpassed the population of China. Now, India is the most populous nation in the world. So, when we want to measure the economic growth of any country, it is measured in terms of the gross domestic product, what we call as the GDP. So, this GDP is nothing but an annual market value of all goods and services produced by all businesses, maybe foreign or domestic, which are operating in a country. So, our economic growth, our economic well being, our economic value is measured in terms of the GDP. And people talk about the GDP's growth, per capita GDP, per person increase in the growth. And then the per capita income also is, people talk about, measure about the levels of development in any country. So, economic development is related to raising the living standards of people. So, we talk about more developed countries like the countries of North America, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and most countries of Europe. Then we talk about less developed countries, which include most of the countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So, if you look in the world map, you can classify the countries according to the national income per person or per capita in terms of high income, high middle income, lower middle income, and low income countries, uh, where by this per capita income we can classify these countries by their gross domestic product, GDP growth. So India is also growing fast now. We are developing from a, say, the growing nation or a developing nation to a developed nation like China. So China, you can see in the upper middle income group, and India is still in the low income group. So slowly the condition is changing in the different countries. So, what is the global outlook or the world trends, as we call it? Uh, in the developed countries, the population is less and the population growth is also less, but having about 85% of all the wealth and income in the developed nations. The resource use is also very high, 88%, and the pollution and waste they are creating is also very high, 75%. On the contrary, as a comparison, for the developing countries, the population is very high and population growth is also high, but the wealth and income is very, very low, resource use is low, and the pollution and waste that we are creating, the developing nations, is very less, maybe one fourth of the pollution and waste created by the developed countries. So, what conclusion we arrive at from this statistics, this bar graph? That developed world has more responsibility towards conserving the environment, conserving the natural capital and the resources, and helping the developing countries with their latest technology, with the money from the financial institutions like World Bank and the International Monetary Fund that they have, so that the undeveloped world can be given all sort of help, technology as well as financial help, to achieve their own targets, because this is a global problem. Or if only developed world want to achieve sustainability in the world, it is not possible. It can only be possible when we can achieve sustainability in all countries, including developed as well as undeveloped countries, or developing countries, what we call them. So it cannot be brought about without the awareness, without the responsibility for the developed countries, and without their help and support. This is not possible. That is one thing that has been realized by them in the different world conventions and treaties, starting from the Earth Summit that was held in 1990 in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, to the Copenhagen Summit that was held in Europe a few years back. And more than 180 countries have been signatory to the Copenhagen Summit. What is the targets have been set up to reduce the carbon emissions, which is responsible for different problems, global warming, climate change, and other problems on the surface of the earth. So all the countries are saying, India is also signatory to this, but the targets have been set, 10-year, 20-year, 30-year targets. So when we talk about target 2060 or 2060, all the countries in the world want the earth to be a better place in terms of economic growth, in terms of achieving development, but not at the cost of the environment. So for this term, the sustainability or sustainable development is being given due consideration. And now the developed countries are ready to play their part. They are helping the developing countries with all the technology that they have free of cost, as well as helping them financially to achieve this global target. So how are our ecological footprints affecting the earth? I told you that whatever activities we do, every day-to-day activity has an ecological footprint. For example, I am talking to you online now in this lecture. So I am using different technological tools. I am using a laptop. So this laptop is having different materials, plastics, glass, metals, semiconductors, and you are hearing me on your mobile or on your laptop or your desktop, again having different materials. So what happens to these devices after they have completed their useful life? Obviously, they become a part of the solid waste. So what we can do to resolve this ever growing say mountain of solid waste that we are creating every day? Every activity is having a carbon footprint. So as our population grows, as our development grows, our ecological footprints also grow. That means we are depleting and degrading more and more of the earth's natural capital. That means we are living unsustainably. So environmental degradation, what is the meaning of this term environmental degradation? That is wasting, depleting and degrading the earth's natural capital. And it is now happening at an accelerating rate as compared to what it was happening a few decades back. So with the passage of time, this degradation rate is increasing. So we can understand it more by this slide, where we have tried to show that how the degradation of the natural capital of Earth takes place by the various activities. Air pollution is caused, various types of pollutants are released into the air. Um, you must be heard, must have heard about natural air pollution, the pollution from the forest fire or the pollution from the volcanic eruptions. But the air pollution from the natural sources is not of concern to us. Why? Because this had been happening for thousands and thousands of years, never caused any problem to the humans. But the anthropogenic causes of air pollution are of concern to us, the man made. That means the air pollution caused by automobiles. The second is the air pollution caused by thermal power plants or other energy producing plants, which are using fossil fuels again, like coal, for energy production. And the third is the pollution from the industries. So these are the three main sources of air pollution, which is causing the degradation of air. Then climate change, which is again due to carbon emissions being added up in the air and resulting in the climate change. Soil erosion, you know that the top surface of the soil is very, very important for us because it is the fertile layer of soil where all the agriculture products grow. And as the soil erosion takes place, it takes away this fertile soil top layer with it, and the soil capability to produce, say, agriculture products is reduced considerably. So, soil erosion is also part of natural capital degradation. Forests are being cut down, as a result of which the wildlife habitats for the various animals have been decreased. So the species are either becoming extinct or are endangered of being extinct. Then water table is continuously going down. In the aquifer depletion taking place, we are consuming more water, taking out more and replenishing less, resulting in the water table going considerably down. Then in the seas and oceans also, in our water bodies, our river water is highly polluted. Even in our seas and ocean, we have a declining ocean fisheries. So having a negative effect on the aquatic life, on the production of fish. So you can see that there is an all-round natural capital degradation taking place due to the this human activities. So when we talk about pollution, what are the different sources and what are the different points of pollution? We can divide into two categories: point sources and non point sources. जैसे एक इंडस्ट्री की चिमनी से कोई धुआं निकल रहा है, वो एक पॉइंट सोर्स है एयर पोल्यूशन का. इसी तरह से अगर हम खेत में पेस्टिसाइड्स का छिड़काव कर रहे हैं, वो हवा में ऐड हो रहे हैं, तो ये नॉन पॉइंट सोर्स का एग्जांपल है. इसी तरह कुछ पॉल्यूटेंट्स जो हैं वो बायोडिग्रेडेबल होते हैं, जिसको बैक्टीरिया जो है वो एक समय के साथ डिग्रेड करके एनवायरनमेंट फ्रेंडली फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं. और कुछ नॉन बायोडिग्रेडेबल होते हैं जिसको बैक्टीरिया डिकम्पोज नहीं कर सकते. तो हर तरह का पोल्यूशन जो है अनवांटेड है, अनडिजायरेबल है, और ह्यूमन बींग्स के लिए और दूसरे लिविंग बींग्स के लिए, बायोस्फीयर के लिए और एज अ प्लैनेट अर्थ पर ये नुकसानदेह है और हमारी लाइफ को, हमारी हेल्थ को अफेक्ट करता है, कर रहा है. डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ डिजीजेस कॉज हो रही है इसमें, ह्यूमन बींग्स में भी, और इसका लार्जर वर्ल्ड वाइड इम्पैक्ट है जिसको हम ग्लोबल या इकोलॉजिकल फुटप्रिंट के फॉर्म में देख रहे हैं. In this slide you can see this air pollution being released from industry, again the source being example of point source pollution taking place. Then an example of non-point source water pollution, these all sort of these solid waste plastic bottles being dumped into a surface water body like a pond or a lake or a river. It is an example of the non-point source. Then unwanted effects of pollution, Obviously, all the effects of pollution are unwanted, having a negative effect on our health. These pollutants disrupt and degrade the life support systems for the living beings. They damage the wildlife, also have a negative effect on our health and property, create noise, unpleasant smell, taste, and sights, all taking place due to the dumping of the solid waste in the solid waste dumping yards, attracting all sorts of birds and having a negative effect on the flora and fauna of the area, uh, and health effects. You can see this air pollution and water pollution having an effect, causing the waterborne diseases to the human beings like gastroenteritis, cholera, and other diseases, amoebic dysentery. Then, whatever emerging pollutants we talk about, pesticides, we talk about heavy metals, talk about pharmaceutical compounds and radioactive compounds being a part of our water bodies, our water, even our groundwater is not 100%, you can say, pure. So, when we consume all sorts of these chemicals, when we inhale all sorts of pollutants, it is having an effect on our system, respiratory problems, cardiovascular illness, and increase in the incidence of cancer risk. So, cancer is a disease. If you talk to a doctor, they will say that there is a natural system of formation of new cells in the human body. The old cells die and the new cells take their place. So, what happens in the cancer is that if due to some reason there is a ever increasing of proliferation in the formation of new cells that takes place at a very fast rate. So, that is called a growth, and which can take place in any part of the human body. So, if this growth is a benign growth, it is not of concern because it can be taken care of by surgically removing it by a surgeon. But if this growth is benign, oh sorry, malignant, that is called a cancer. And any sort of malignancy or cancer is not curable. There is no known cure for treating cancer. Uh, Even if there are certain treatment systems are available like chemotherapy and radiotherapy, it is very difficult for the patient in terms of the problems it creates, as well as the treatment is very costly. There is a psychological impact on the patient, the family of the patient also, and in most of the
Sir,
cases it is seen. Yes, yes, please.
बहुत ही
आपकी आवाज मुझे सुनाई नहीं दे रही है. आई कैनॉट हियर यू.
ज्ञानवर्धक सर आज का ये लेक्चर है हम लोगों के लिए पर्यावरण संबंधित
जी.
एंथ्रोपॉइजेनिक। अभी आपने चर्चा की कि एंथ्रोपॉइजेनिक पॉल्यूशन हमारे, तो ये एंथ्रोपॉइजेनिक किन चीजों से पैदा हुआ?
हाँ, नहीं देखिए, आपने बहुत अच्छा सवाल पूछा. हालांकि आवाज आपकी कट रही थी, लेकिन जितना मैं समझ
जी
पाया
सर।
हूँ, मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि लास्ट में हम तो 10-15 मिनट आपको सवाल पूछने के लिए देंगे, तो मैं आपसे आपके सवाल
धन्यवाद।
लूंगा और आपके जवाब दूंगा सवाल के. तो अभी मैं कंटिन्यू करना चाहूंगा, तो प्लीज म्यूट कर लें अपने आप को. तो हम ये बात कर रहे थे कि जो भी पॉल्यूटेंट्स रिलीज हो रहे हैं और माइक्रो पॉल्यूटेंट्स जो अब 10-20 साल 25 साल से नजर आ रहे हैं हमारे ग्राउंड वाटर में भी और एयर में भी, जो पहले नहीं थे, उससे कुछ नई बीमारियां हमें ह्यूमन बींग्स में हो रही हैं, जो कि बहुत ही प्रॉब्लमेटिक हैं. जैसे कि मैंने अभी बताया, अभी जिक्र कर रहा था, आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट द इंक्रीज इन द इंसिडेंस ऑफ कैंसर, and you must be aware of this increase which you are viewing every day. हर रोज आप सुनते हैं कि आपके आस पड़ोस में, आपके रिश्तेदारों में, या कहीं आपके कुलीग्स में ये कैंसर की बीमारी किसी न किसी को रिपोर्ट हो गई है. और ये एक ऐसी बीमारी है जो शरीर के हर हिस्से में हो सकती है, फ्रॉम हेड टू टो. और इसका इंसिडेंस बढ़ता जा रहा है. कह रहे हैं कि सन 2050 तक हाईएस्ट नंबर ऑफ कैंसर पेशेंट्स विल बी इन इंडिया. सो इंडिया is being called as the cancer capital of the world. So this is a very worrisome sign for the scientists and doctors, which not only the government of India and our say scientific and medical community is working into. that how we can control this increase in the incidence of cancer. And certainly pollution is one of the, all round pollution is one of the source responsible for in this increase. There is one more source, that is the adulteration of food items. Whatever food items we are consuming, it may be cereals, pulses, food grains, even milk, it is adulterated. You must be have heard about the adulterated milk that they prepare by using urea or the mineral oil, and various even life-saving drugs are being adulterated now. So these two main factors are responsible for the increase in the incidence of cancer. So when we talk about long-term solutions, again, if we have to control pollution, we have to do cleanup. Certainly, first thing that we have to need to do is, because it's not a cannot be achieved overnight. It has to be a sustainable effort. It has to be done in a say a particular duration of time. The first and the foremost thing is creating awareness, then cleaning up or diluting pollutants that we have produced, and pollution prevention, which includes reduction and elimination of production of pollutants in the industries as well as in the society. Then over exploiting shared renewable sources, that we call as the tragedy of the commons. So whatever property that we have, we try to consider that is a private property, and we can, for example, cut down the trees. We think that we are doing anything we can do in our private property, but that is not so. The trees and the forests are the natural resource, that is resource for the entire country or for the global resource, you can say. Similarly, water bodies, it may be groundwater or surface water sources. Again, it is a natural resource. It is not possible that it may belong to a single person. So we have to create awareness amongst the people and try to make them realize that we owe the environment to our future generations. If we overexploit the renewable sources, finish them today, there will not be left any good environment, and good these natural resources will not be available for our future generation. So what we have to do is, we have to prepare an ecological footprint that is utmost needed for the individuals, and try to protect the environment and the natural resources that the nature has provided to us. For that, we should understand the meaning of this term ecological footprint. So it is the amount of biologically productive land and water needed to provide the people in a region with indefinite supply of renewable sources, and to absorb and recycle the waste and pollution. So per capita ecological footprint, that means per person, needs to be prepared, and we try to reduce this footprint. So whatever activities, for example, as a person, I first try to list the activities that I am doing from morning to the night, and how much pollution I am causing by these activities to the environment, and then try to reduce it by my individual efforts. So if every individual tries to understand the importance of environmental protection and conservation, and try to reduce his or her ecological footprint, it is certainly going to have an effect on the society and the country as a whole, and then at the global level. So when we talk about this ecological footprint, it includes that how much say pollution we are causing as an individual, how much carbon emissions are caused by our activities. For example, the energy we are producing, using in our house. For example, the products that we are using, the food that we are eating, the house that we have constructed, the furniture that we are using. All these activities have an ecological footprint. And we have to try to find out a solution by, say, control to these activities, so that the ecological footprint of all the activities can be reduced drastically. So here you can see that what we talk about when we talk about self-sustainable, say, production. For example, in a village, previously the people were say sufficient, जैसे आत्मनिर्भर हम जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं. तो जो भी उनके खाने की चीजें होती थी, बहुत ज्यादा उनकी रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं थी गाँव में, वो सारी चीजें गाँव में ही अवेलेबल थी। और जो भी वो चीजों का इस्तेमाल कर रहे थे उसमें बहुत ज्यादा वेस्ट प्रोड्यूस नहीं होता था, जैसे प्लास्टिक वेस्ट, जैसे मेटल वेस्ट, क्योंकि उस समय पर कोई ऐसा प्रोडक्ट यूज नहीं कर रहे थे। कैंड फूड टिन कैंस नहीं आ रहे थे, वो प्लास्टिक बॉटल्स जो हैं, वो कोल्ड ड्रिंक नहीं ज्यादा यूज उस गांव में यूज होता था। तो इस तरह का कूड़ा भी जनरेट नहीं होता था। तो उसको जो भी सॉलिड वेस्ट जनरेट होता था वो बायोडिग्रेडेबल था। उसको बैक्टीरिया की मदद से कंपोस्टिंग के जरिए जैविक खाद में कन्वर्ट कर लेते थे वो, और फिर खेतों में उसका इस्तेमाल कर लेते थे फर्दर एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्शन के। दैट मीन्स everything that required for human beings were available in the village itself. Whatever waste they were producing were also being consumed in the village itself. So in that way, they were self sustenance pattern were there, and they were conserving the environment in a big way, which we are not doing now in cities. So as compared to, you can see this in the city, we are using different types of require furniture, we require electronic consumer goods, we require automobiles like cars, and electricity for the working of these, or the petrol and diesel for these say devices. So each device and each activity and each thing that we use is having a negative effect on the environment. It is having a carbon footprint. So if we try to compare the different developed countries with India, that what is the total ecological footprint? For example, in United States, 2,810 million hectares of natural capital degradation taking place. That means 25% of the total global biological capacity, you can say. Similarly, European Union 19%, China now 18%, India and Japan are using only 7% and 5% respectively. So you can say that developing countries like India and Japan are living more sustainably, less polluting the environment as compared to these developed countries. So you can see in the lower part of this slide that a comparison shown from 1961 to about 2050, that previously we were living sustainably, but now we are say moving towards more unsustainable world, uh, considering the projected footprint up to 2050, that is about maybe 25 years from now. So this is a global or world human footprint map by comparing the different countries, how much unsustainably the different countries, the people are living, and how much pollution they are causing to the environment. So this is an environmental impact model that has been developed to find out the environmental impact of the different activities being done in different cities and towns and countries in the world. It is called IPAT model. So I stands for environmental impact caused by the different activities. P is population. A is their affluence, means उनका जीवन कितना सुखदाई है, कितनी सुख सुविधाओं का उन्होंने इस्तेमाल किया अपनी लाइफ में, कितने इलेक्ट्रॉनिक गैजेट्स यूज कर रहे हैं, कितनी गाड़ियां यूज कर रहे हैं, एयर कंडीशनर, ये सब एफ्लुएंस कहलाता है। तो जितनी डेवलप्ड सोसाइटी होगी, जितनी अमीर सोसाइटी होगी, उतनी ज्यादा गैजेट्स और डिवाइसेस का इस्तेमाल करेगी और उतनी ही ज्यादा पोल्यूशन कॉज करेगी और एनवायरनमेंट पर बर्डन कॉज करेगी। एंड टी स्टैंड्स फॉर टेक्नोलॉजी. So environmental impact is considered to be a product of population, affluence, and technology. Then here again a comparison of less developed countries with more developed countries. So you can see that obviously the more developed countries will have a more impact on the environment because they are polluting more, they are consuming the natural resources more, and their effort for the sustainable development are not sufficient, producing more solid waste. On the other hand, the less developed countries, they are maybe having more population as compared, for example, India and China having more population than these developed countries, but still the effect that we are creating for the environment is the ecological footprint. The impact is less as compared to the developed countries. So population is a big reason also, which is having an effect on the environment. So here are some of the statistics of the human populations, the projections. Now you know that India is considered to be the most populous country in the world. So the growth rate has decreased. It does not mean that the population is decreasing. Population is still increasing, but the rate at which it was increasing is now going down. That is a, you can say, a positive trend taken place after say 1985. Then some other statistics regarding the Indian population, the density of population, how much population lives in the urban areas. But one thing is very, very important for India, that is the median age is 27. That means we have more young people who can work to achieve sustainability as compared to the developed nations, where the median age may be 40, 50, or even 60 years. Now, we have considered the case study of China, because China is a country that we have to look up to. In the last 50 years, China having the tag of the most populous nation till last year, again it managed not only to achieve large scale industrial growth and economic development, it converted itself from a developing nation to a developed nation tag, but at the same time it was able to conserve the environment at the same time. So the credit goes to China, because it has, uh, if any country is to be considered in the world as the champion of sustainable development, it is China, because they have done both things: drastic increase in their economic development and industrial development. At the same time, their contribution to conserving the environment has been relentless and praiseworthy. So, if India has to consider a role model in the world, we have to look up to it is China. And certainly, we are also working in this part, increasing our economic development, constructing good infrastructure, and at the same time, say, following or sticking to our international promises of cutting down the carbon emissions. So these are some of the statistics, uh, considering the case study of China, where it has been shown that how they have worked day and night, not only for achieving the tag of developed nation, but at the same time conserving the environment. Now, natural systems, people talk about the ecological tipping point. So what is that tipping point? It is an irreversible shift in the behavior of a natural system. So environmental degradation has time delays between our actions now and the deleterious effects later. So long-term climate change, overfishing, species extinction. अगर आज हम कोई एक्टिविटी करते हैं तो उसके इफेक्ट जो है हमें आने वाले सालों में कुछ समय के बाद नजर आते हैं. अगर आज हम कुछ बेहतर करने की दिशा में आगे बढ़ते हैं तो उसके अच्छे जो नतीजे हैं हमें कुछ सालों के बाद नजर आते हैं. हम ये चाहें कि आज हम कोई एक्शन ले लें और कल हमारा एनवायरनमेंट बेहतर हो जाए, तो ये संभव नहीं है. ये सब काम धीरे धीरे हो पाता है. सो दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ टिपिंग पॉइंट. जैसे लोग कहते हैं साहब आज हमने करना शुरू करा, एक साल के बाद हम सोच लें कि भाई अभी तो कोई बदलाव आया नहीं. नहीं, वो फिर एक जब बदलाव आना शुरू होता है फिर वो तेजी से आता है. So cultural changes have increased our ecological footprints. People talk about agricultural revolution, in which large scale pesticides and fertilizers were used indiscriminately without the information being given to the farmers that what havoc it is going to have on the environment. Secondly, industrial medical revolution. We have been producing large scale allopathic drugs. What are these drugs? These are nothing but chemicals. So we have been using them without uh, being being able to purchase on the say prescription of a medical practitioner. What is happening in the developed countries? You cannot buy any medicine from a pharmacy or a medical store without being prescribed by a registered medical practitioner. But on the contrary, here in India, you go to any medical store without going to doctor and tell the medical store person that I have these symptoms, this problem. He will give some medicine to you. Then you take 2 or 3 tablets or capsules, and once the symptoms are released, for example, the fever goes down or something other happens, the pain in the body subsides, stop taking that medicine. Ultimately, throw in the dustbin, then it goes to a open drain and then to a bigger drain and then finally contaminates the groundwater and surface water sources. So again, the pharmaceutical compounds, they have gained their way into the environment, and when we consume water that has having these compounds in it, certainly it will going to have a negative effect on our life. So this is the some problems that we are facing that needs to be have a control on it, and that is not happening on the ground. So technology increases population. When we have more technology, again more pollution will be there, whether it is due to the use of agricultural fertilizers or pesticides, whether it is due to the production of medical drugs, whether it is due to the development of different types of gadgets. It all produces negative effect on the environment. So environmental problems are due to all these reasons: population growth, wasteful and unsustainable resource use, poverty, exclusion of environmental costs of resource use from the market, and prices of goods and services. So all these problems, all these causes will have to be looked into, and the solutions needed to be found out for each of these problems if we want to reduce the carbon footprint. Here you can see this slide, the exponential growth of human population, uh, the Black Death, the plague that took place at the beginning of the 20th century and this 21st century. We have been affected by another global pandemic, that was COVID-19. Again, millions of people lost their life worldwide. So every 100 years there is a pandemic, and due to the pandemic, the large population gets perishes. There is nature's another way of getting rid of the ever increasing human population in its own way. Again, creating affluence has an harmful effect as well as beneficial effects for the society, for the environment. Harmful effects are the high levels of consumption of natural resources, high levels of pollution being caused, and unnecessary waste of resources. And what are the benefits? Benefits can be production of developing of technologies, new technologies being developed to reduce pollution, to reduce environmental degradation and waste needs to be, has been developed and is being used. Again, poverty, which is very harmful. You can see in underdeveloped countries, you can see in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, the so poor countries, the population affected, the children are affected by malnutrition. There is a premature death. The major population has a limited access or no access to adequate sanitation facilities and drinking hygienic drinking water. Also, they don't have an access to good food, so resulting in malnutrition. Then extreme poverty, resulting in lack of sanitation, lack of solid waste management techniques, resulting in more and more disease spreading in the area. So this is also linked to extreme poverty. And there have been different researches being undertaken to find out the harmful effects of poverty in the society. So all these problems have been mentioned here. Inadequate health care, inadequate housing, health and habitation, enough food is not available, fuel is not available, energy requirement is there, clean drinking, hygienic water availability is not there, adequate sanitation facilities are not there, and the children are malnutrition. So the prices of different items that include the properties, the agricultural land, the companies do not pay the environmental cost of the resource use. They just utilize them for their own benefit, earn a good amount of money, and then do not think to replenish, to conserve the environment, what they have, say, provided, what they have done with the environment. For example, this is a vehicle called Hummer, and different types of materials, metals have gone into a large amount of energy being gone into, and large amount of fuel this vehicle is consuming. So it is very environmentally unfriendly. But people in developed countries using it. Then different views of the environmental problems, you have to consider the environmental ethics. That means what is right and what is wrong. The awareness needs to be created to conserve the environment. Then planetary management worldview, that we think that we are the owner of the water and air and other natural resources the nature has provided to us. We have to change that view. We have to develop this stewardship view, that we are the stewards, that we have been given the responsibility by God to manage earth for our own benefit, but with an ethical responsibility to be stewards and to help to protect and conserve the environment, not only for ourselves but our future generations. We have to be environmentally having wisdom. We must be a part of the nature, and we must engage in a sustainable use of the environment. We have to develop a environmental sustainable society. That means conserve the natural capital and natural income and produce less and less pollution. Then we should be able to meet the current requirement, the needs of the society, at the same time try to worry about the needs of how the needs of the future generations will be met. If we will not leave anything natural resource left, so the future generations will not be left with any natural resources. So the natural income of natural capital without diminishing the natural capital, that is the, you can say, motto of the sustainable development. Then we can work together to solve the environmental problems. Social capital encourages openness and communication, cooperation and hope, and it discourages the close-mindedness, polarization, confrontation and fear. Every individual has a role to play, has an importance. हम सोचते हैं कि साहब हम अकेले क्या कर लेंगे, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है. आपने सुना होगा कि जैसे बूंद बूंद करके घड़ा बनता है, तो अगर हम कोई समाज में, सोसाइटी में, अपने देश में, पूरी विश्व में कोई बदलाव लाना चाहते हैं, तो एक अपने आप से शुरुआत होती है. 5 to 10% of the population can bring about a major social change, and we have only 50 to 100. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है. हमारे पास ज्यादा समय नहीं है इस बदलाव के लिए. अगर हमें सस्टेनेबल एनवायरनमेंट, सस्टेनेबल वर्ल्ड प्रोड्यूस करना है, बचाना है इन संसाधनों को, और विश्व को बचाना है, पर्यावरण को बचाना है, तो हमारे पास मैक्सिमम 50 से 100 साल का समय है. बस इसी में हमें एक्ट करना है और सक्सेसफुल होना है. इसके लिए रिन्यूएबल सोर्सेज ऑफ एनर्जी को इस्तेमाल करना है, बायोडाइवर्सिटी को बचाना है, और कम से कम वेस्ट हो, कम से कम पोल्यूशन हो, उसके लिए काम करना है. वी हैव टू रिड्यूस द वेस्ट एंड पोल्यूशन. सो these are some of the important points, the three big ideas. We could rely more on renewable energy from the sun, including indirect forms of solar energy such as wind and flowing water, that is called hydropower, to meet most of our heating and electricity needs. We can protect biodiversity by preventing the degradation of earth species, earth's ecosystem and natural processes, and by restoring areas that we have degraded. Then we can help sustain the earth's natural chemical cycles by reducing our own production of wastes and pollution, and by not overloading the natural systems with harmful chemicals, and not removing natural chemicals faster than those chemical cycles can replace them. So warning यहाँ पर जैसे दी हुई है, do not dump chemicals, solvents or oils down the drains. जो नाली में हम फेंक देते हैं chemicals या ऑयल्स या सॉल्वेंट्स या दवाइयाँ, ये सब जाकर के बाद में एनवायरनमेंट में अलग अलग जगहों पर पोल्यूशन कॉज करते हैं. तो विद दैट आई कम टू द एंड ऑफ दिस लेक्चर, एंड नाउ दिस लेक्चर इज ओपन फॉर डिस्कशन. अब आप अपना सवाल पूछ सकते हैं. एक एक करके अपना आपको आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे, एंड यू कैन आस्क क्वेश्चंस वन बाय वन. अभी किसी ने क्वेश्चन पूछा था.
जी सर, एंथ्रोपोजेनिक पॉल्यूशन के विषय
अपना
में
नाम
आपने
बताएंगे
बताया.
पहले प्लीज.
तो ये होता कैसे है और क्या कारण है, इसको रोका कैसे जा सकता है?
डॉक्टर रवि सिंह प्रॉब्ली पूछ रहे हैं सवाल. बहुत अच्छा इन्होंने क्वेश्चन पूछा है कि जो हमने एंथ्रोपोजेनिक पोल्यूशन की बात करी है, एंथ्रोपोजेनिक पोल्यूशन क्या होता है और इसको कैसे रोका जा सकता है. बेसिकली एंथ्रोपोजेनिक का मतलब है ह्यूमन कॉस्ट, जो पोल्यूशन ह्यूमन बीइंग्स की वजह से कॉज हो रहा है। और अगर हम एयर पोल्यूशन की बात करें तो ह्यूमन बीइंग्स हमने बताया 3 एंथ्रोपोजेनिक कॉजेज बताए। एक जो हमारी ऑटोमोबाइल जो गाड़ियां हैं उसमें हम फॉसिल फ्यूल्स का इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, पेट्रोल और डीजल। और अब आप देखते हैं उसकी जगह पर जैसे पेट्रोल का ऑक्टेन नंबर बढ़ाने के लिए पहले लेड का इस्तेमाल होता था, अब अनलेडेड पेट्रोल यूज हो रहा है। तो अनलेडेड पेट्रोल में हमें गाड़ी में एक दूसरा डिवाइस लगाना पड़ता है जिसका नाम है कैटालिटिक कन्वर्टर, वो कर रहे हैं। उसके अलावा बायोडीजल की बात अब हो रही है। बहुत सारे ऐसे से एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्शन हम कर सकते हैं, जैसे बीज होते हैं इसमें तेल निकलता है, जैसे आपने नाम सुना होगा जेट्रोफा का। तो हमारे यहाँ देश में भी, भारत में, छत्तीसगढ़ में और मध्य प्रदेश में बड़े पैमाने पर इस जेट्रोफा की खेती हो रही है। और इसके सीड को क्रश करके ये ऑयल निकाल रहे हैं, इसको इथेनॉल के साथ मिला करके बायोडीजल या बायोफ्यूल जनरेट करें, जिसका इस्तेमाल डीजल जनरेटिंग सेट्स में, ट्रैक्टर्स में, इसका इस्तेमाल जो है वो ऑटोमोबाइल्स में हो रहा है। इसके अलावा कॉम्प्रेस नेचुरल गैस सीएनजी भी जो है वो पेट्रोल और डीजल का एक ऑल्टरनेटिव हो सकती है। इट सर्टेनली इट इज हैविंग अ पोल्यूशन पोटेंशियल, बट its pollution potential is much less as compared to petrol and diesel, conventional petrol and diesel, which is a fossil fuel. इसी तरह से हम कह रहे हैं कि दूसरा एयर पोल्यूशन का मेजर कॉज है इंडस्ट्रीज से होने वाला पोल्यूशन। तो जितनी भी इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, चाहे छोटी हो या बड़ी, सब में अब पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल डिवाइसेस, अब हमारे पास टेक्नोलॉजी मौजूद है जिसका इस्तेमाल हम कर रहे हैं, जैसे ग्रेविटेशनल सेटलिंग चैम्बर्स, बैग हाउस फिल्टर्स, वेंचुरी स्क्रबर्स, वेट स्क्रबर्स, इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक प्रेसिपिटेटर्स। ये कुछ एयर पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल डिवाइसेस हैं which are being used in a big way. For example, if you talk about cement plants, if you talk about big metallurgical industries and oil refineries, all these have installed now electrostatic precipitators have been made compulsory by the Central Pollution Control Board. And these are not only say conserving the precious, for example, cement or other material that is being produced in that industry. Moreover, it is being stopped, it is being not allowed to go into the air, which is having a large effect on reducing the air pollution. Similarly, energy production के बारे में हमने कहा कि साहब कन्वेंशनल मेथड से जो हम एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं उसी जगह पर रिन्यूएबल सोर्सेज ऑफ एनर्जी पर अब गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस काम कर रहे हैं। इसीलिए हमारे देश में भी एक मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रिन्यूएबल सोर्सेज ऑफ एनर्जी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने बनाया है, जिसमें सोलर एनर्जी के क्षेत्र पे काम चल रहा है। आप जानते हैं हमारा देश एक ट्रॉपिकल देश है जहां पर साल के तकरीबन 10 महीने बहुत अच्छी धूप होती है। तो इस धूप को हम फोटोवोल्टेइक सेल के जरिए इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं बहुत आसानी से, और कर रहे हैं। इसके ऊपर काम चल रहा है। बहुत सारी इवन इंस्टीट्यूशंस, लोग, इंडिविजुअल्स भी अपने घरों में फोटोवोल्टेइक सेल्स लगा रहे हैं। और हमारे यहाँ, जैसे हमारे यहाँ यूनिवर्सिटी में भी वी हैव डेवलप्ड आवर यूनिवर्सिटी इनटू अ ग्रीन यूनिवर्सिटी where we have installed both rooftop based PV plants as well as ground based photovoltaic plants. We are producing more than say 50 megawatts of electricity every month. So in this way, lot needs to be done and is being done. Generation of hydropower, generation of wind energy. आपने सुना होगा यूरोप के कुछ देश हैं, जैसे नीदरलैंड्स की अगर हम बात करें तो नीदरलैंड्स में अपने एनर्जी रिक्वायरमेंट का 60 to 70% विंड एनर्जी से प्रोड्यूस करें। दे हैव लार्ज विंड मिल्स। और हम भारत में भी एक बड़ी लार्ज कोस्ट लाइन है, तो मैंने बताया कि समुद्री इलाकों में हवा तेज चलती है तो वहां पे विंड मिल अच्छा काम करते हैं। तो गुजरात से लेकर के और वेस्ट बंगाल तक सरकारी संस्थाओं के अलावा कुछ प्राइवेट कंपनीज भी क्षेत्र में आ गई। जैसे आपने नाम सुना होगा सुजलॉन इंडिया लिमिटेड या आरआरबी एनर्जी लिमिटेड। ये कुछ कंपनीज हैं जो इंडिया में विंड मिल्स बना रही हैं और चला रही हैं, और हम विंड एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं। इसी तरह जियोथर्मल एनर्जी, बायोमास एनर्जी वगैरह, ये सब नए जो सोर्सेज हैं रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के, इस पर काम चल रहा है। और अगेन नए ज्यादा से ज्यादा प्रोड्यूस करें हम इस एनर्जी को और कम कॉस्ट पर, ताकि एक आम व्यक्ति तक हम जो कन्वेंशनल मेथड से एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस करें उसके कंपैरेबल रेट पर हम प्रोवाइड कर सके। ये गवर्नमेंट का फोकस है इस वक्त, साइंटिस्ट का इस पर काम कंटिन्यूसली चल रहा है। So we are working day and night for this, achieving the target that is to have a sustainability in India also. आई होप आई हैव आंसर्ड योर क्वेश्चन। एनी अदर पर्सन, कोई और सवाल पूछना चाहे?
सर मैं संतोष कुमार, मेरी आवाज आ रही है सर?
जी आ रही है।
सर आपने अभी डिस्कस किया था कि पॉवर्टी एक बड़ा मेजर रीजन है इन्वायरमेंटल डिग्रेडेशन के लिए, लेकिन देखा यह जाता है कि अमीरी ज्यादा बड़ा रीजन नहीं है सर, क्योंकि अमीरी जो ज्यादा अमीर है वो ज्यादा मतलब इलेक्ट्रॉनिक गैजेट्स वगैरह, गाड़ी वगैरह चीजें रखता है, एसी का यूज करता है, तो वो ज्यादा वैसे इन दोनों स्थितियों में तो सर हो रहा है ना डिग्रेडेशन तो।
हाँ जी, देखिए ये संतोष कुमार जी ने बड़ा अच्छा सवाल पूछा है, जो मैंने अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में आपको एक्सप्लेन भी किया है। हम कह रहे हैं कि पावर्टी या गरीबी जो है वो एक कॉज है, एक जनक है कई समस्याओं का, लेकिन एफ्लुएंस भी जो है वो एनवायरनमेंट के पोल्यूशन को बढ़ावा दे रहा है इन टर्म्स ऑफ द इकोलॉजिकल फुटप्रिंट द एफ्लुएंट पीपल आर क्रिएटिंग इन बिग सिटीज। जैसे कि हम कह रहे हैं कि चाहे आप इंडिविजुअल लेवल पर देखें, भारत में भी अगर आप एक किसी गांव में देखें, per capita ecological footprint and try to compare it with the ecological footprint of a person living in a big city or a metropolitan city like Mumbai and Delhi, it is certainly going to be more. Similarly, if you compare to a ecological footprint of a person living say in a developing country as compared to living in US or Europe or Japan, it certainly would be higher. तो आपकी बात अपनी जगह सही है कि एफ्लुएंस जो है वो इकोलॉजी के ऊपर और एनवायरनमेंट पर बर्डन ज्यादा क्रिएट करती है, लेकिन हमें जो है दोनों चीजों को साइड बाय साइड लेके चलना है। हमें एग्रीकल्चरल ग्रोथ, हमें इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ, हमें इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ भी बढ़ानी है, साथ ही साथ एनवायरनमेंट को भी। सस्टेनेबिलिटी का मतलब ही है दैट यू हैव टू कंजर्व एंड यू हैव टू से हैव इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट एट द सेम टाइम। तो एक बीच का सोल्यूशन हमें लेके चलना है, उसी को सस्टेनेबिलिटी कहा गया है।
गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
मॉर्निंग।
मैं डॉक्टर अर्चना कुमारी। मेरा सवाल ये है कि ध्वनि प्रदूषण जो बड़े शहरों में बहुत ज्यादा है, उसके जो सामान्य उपाय हैं वो हम सभी नागरिक इस्तेमाल करते हैं, लेकिन कोई और कारगर उपाय जो नया हुआ हो, जिसका नया वर्जन शुरू हुआ हो, या एकदम जो बिल्कुल कारगर हो खासकर बड़े शहरों के लिए, तो उसके बारे में जरा बताएं।
जी जी, अर्चना कुमारी जी ने बहुत ही अच्छा सवाल पूछा है कि आप ये एनवायरमेंटल पॉल्यूशन का एक अलग एस्पेक्ट, जो ध्वनि प्रदूषण की बात इन्होंने की है, और बड़े शहरों में क्या, अब तो छोटे शहरों में भी ये एक बड़ी समस्या बन के सामने आ रही है, क्योंकि जो भी ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज हम रोजमर्रा के जीवन में करते हैं, मास लेवल पर या इंडिविजुअल लेवल पर, उससे अलग अलग तरह का ध्वनि प्रदूषण क्रिएट होता है और हो रहा है। और अल्टीमेटली जब हम इस ध्वनि प्रदूषण से एक्सपोज होते हैं एज एन इंडिविजुअल, तो हमें नॉर्मली देखने में या सुनने में लगता है कि इससे कोई हमारे ऊपर असर नहीं पड़ रहा है या हमारी हेल्थ पर कोई नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट नहीं पड़ रहा है। लेकिन लॉन्ग टर्म में अगर आप देखें, कोई व्यक्ति अगर स्टेशन के ऊपर वेंडर है, वहां से ट्रेन गुजर रही हैं कंटिन्यूअसली, लाउड साउंड्स आर बीइंग प्रोड्यूस, या कोई ट्रैफिक पुलिस पर्सनल है, वो किसी बिजी चौराहे पर खड़ा हुआ है जहां से गाड़ियां गुजर रही हैं, गाड़ियों के हॉर्न बज रहे हैं और उनके चलने की आवाजें हो रही हैं, तो सर्टेनली उसका असर जो है हमारे हियरिंग सिस्टम जो हमारा है ईयर का, उसके ऊपर पड़ता है नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट। और शुरुआत जो है इरिटेबिलिटी से, चिड़चिड़ेपन से, या फोकस ना कर पाना, उससे होती है, और फिर अल्टीमेटली it can lead to serious effects like headache, like migraine, or developing hearing impairment or incapability. So if you talk to the ENT doctors, they will tell you that in big cities this noise pollution is now becoming a major problem. अब जैसा आप कह रहे हैं कि समस्याएं हैं, तो समाधान भी उसका उसी तरह से ढूंढा जाता है, उसका सोल्यूशन भी है। जैसे आप देखते हैं कि किसी बड़े शहर में, दिल्ली में भी, मुंबई में भी हम देख रहे हैं कि जैसे फ्लाईओवर है जहाँ बिजी ट्रैफिक चल रहा है, तो वहाँ उन्होंने कुछ बैरियर्स लगाते हैं, नॉइज बैरियर्स। अब एक तरफ में बिल्डिंग्स हैं, कोई बाजार है, या अगर मान लीजिए कोई ऐसी जगह जहाँ स्कूल है, कॉलेज है या हॉस्पिटल है, तो जहाँ जाहिर बात है कि अगर तेज शोर होगा तो उससे मरीजों पे इफेक्ट पड़ेगा, बच्चे पढ़ने पे फोकस नहीं कर पाएंगे। तो वो साउंड बैरियर्स लगाए जाते हैं, जो प्लास्टिक के भी और मेटल्स के भी अब बन रहे हैं, वेरी लाइट वेट प्लास्टिक्स एंड मेटल्स being used to manufacture these barriers, which are being put on the sides of these flyovers, so that the sounds can be minimized. और बिल्डिंग्स में भी हम शैलो क्या कहते हैं, बिल्डिंग्स बना रहे हैं, वॉल्स को भी हॉलो रख रहे हैं, उसके बीच में साउंड एब्जॉर्बिंग मटेरियल्स का इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, ताकि अगर बाहर का शोर आपके अंदर। जैसे आप ऑडिटोरियम डिजाइन करते हैं तो ऑडिटोरियम में हमें अकॉस्टिक्स डिजाइन करना होता है कि जो जैसे माइक पे कोई व्यक्ति बोल रहा है तो उस ऑडिटोरियम में जितने लोग बैठे हैं उसको अच्छे से सुन पाए और बाहर की आवाजें उनको इफेक्ट ना करें और अंदर की आवाजें बाहर ना जाएं। ये एक इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज होती है देखने की। तो उस क्षेत्र पे ये साइंटिस्ट काम कर रहे हैं, नए नए मटेरियल्स और टेक्निक्स इस साउंड पोल्यूशन, नॉइज पोल्यूशन के लिए किए जा रहे हैं। इसके अलावा बहुत सारे आप देखते हैं कि ऐसे तरीके भी इस्तेमाल किए जा रहे हैं अब जिससे कि इस साउंड पोल्यूशन को कंट्रोल किया जा, लेजिस्लेशन बना दिए गए। जैसे रात के 10 बजे के बाद अब आप कोई भी पब्लिक एड्रेस सिस्टम पर शोर नहीं मचा सकता है, और दिवाली जैसे समय पर ऐसे फायर क्रैकर्स नहीं चला सकते जिससे कि बहुत तेज आवाज हो। तो ये सब सॉल्यूशंस हैं जिसके ऊपर काम चल रहा है, एंड द गवर्नमेंट एज वेल एज द कोर्ट्स आर फाइंडिंग एंड मेकिंग लॉज to prevent the noise pollution. Okay.
Sir, this is Monali Chatterjee. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Sir, my question is related to the tipping point. Sir, एक बार फिर से अगर आप समझा सकते हैं, what is the tipping point?
Okay, very good. Monali Chatterjee has asked a very good question that in my presentation I talked about the tipping point, and I told that it is related to that if we want to take any action for solving any problem, it takes certain time to happen. So, the concentrated efforts have to be sustained for a little longer period of time for the results to arrive. Tipping means we can compare it to, for example, if you are opening a tap and in the bottom you put a bucket, and the bucket is being the water is being added up to the bucket drop by drop. So you'll find that once the bucket becomes full of water, the water doesn't start flowing outside suddenly. So first it will form a hemispherical surface at the top, and then a certain point comes at which the water starts flowing down the bucket. That is called the tipping point. In the same way, for example, अगर हम एयर पोल्यूशन की बात कर रहे हैं तो जैसे दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट ने ऑड इवन फार्मूला लागू किया या स्कूल्स को बंद कर दिया, तो ये लॉन्ग टर्म सॉल्यूशंस नहीं है। अगर आप ऑड इवन कार का फार्मूला लगाएंगे तो लोगों ने एक ऑड नंबर की गाड़ी खरीद ली, इवन नंबर की दे परचेज, और स्कूल आप फॉर हाउ लॉन्ग यू क्लोज द स्कूल्स। सो द एम इज टू find out long term solutions. First of all, create awareness, then find long term solutions, and then apply those solutions to find to achieve at the say good results what we want to achieve. And we have seen in the case of developed nations, if you go to Europe or even Great Britain, where the first industrial revolution started, you must have heard about the London smog of 1932, where more than 20,000 people lost their life. But today, you go to the bank of River Thames in London, you will find the water is very pure. So by sustained concentrated efforts, the targets can be achieved. So tipping point means that we have to create awareness and start introducing the efforts. Then we can expect the results to come in a few certain duration of time, not immediately. That is the meaning.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Sir, this is Dr.
Morning.
Sarita. सर आपने जो मेडिसिन के बारे में बताया कि वंस वी जस्ट हम ठीक हो जाते हैं और उसके बाद वो मेडिसिन हम डस्टबिन में या कहीं भी हम थ्रो कर देते हैं, तो एज एन इंडिविजुअल व्हाट वी कैन डू कि उस मेडिसिन को हम कैसे रखें या कैसे उसको डंप करें जो वो एनवायरनमेंट पे इफेक्ट ना हो, क्योंकि वो मुझे लगता है एक एक करके बहुत सारी मेडिसिन बहुत इकट्ठी हो जाती है। इवन सम टाइम आई हैव ऑब्जर्व मेरे घर में बहुत मेडिसिन हो जाती है, तो कैसे हम उसको डिसॉल्व करें प्रॉब्लम को एज एन इंडिविजुअल, हम क्या कर सकते हैं?
यस, वी हैव आस्क्ड अ वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन डॉक्टर सरिता। अब इसमें आजकल देखिए बहुत ही एक बर्निंग टॉपिक है, इसके ऊपर बहुत बात हो रही है, इस पर रिसर्च हो रही है, एंटी माइक्रोबियल रेसिस्टेंस के ऊपर, कि जो पहले बीमारियां होती जैसे ट्यूबरकुलोसिस की मैं बात करूं, टीबी, ये कॉमन डिजीज है, बैक्टीरियल डिजीज है। तो इसके लिए पहले जो इलाज था वो बड़ा मुश्किल होता था, कई दवाओं को कॉम्बिनेशन देना पड़ता था, 1 साल से 2 साल लंबा ट्रीटमेंट चलता था, तब पेशेंट सही हो। फिर इसमें मेडिकल एडवांसमेंट हुआ, कई कॉम्बिनेशन थेरेपी आई, अब 1 या 2 दवा 6 महीने देने से पेशेंट ठीक हो जाता है। लेकिन समस्या तब होती है जब हम एक तो खुद सेल्फ मेडिकेशन करते हैं, दूसरा जो डॉक्टर बताता है कि साहब आपको कंटिन्यूअसली 6 महीने मान लीजिए दवा खानी है, तो होता क्या है, 1 महीना खाने के बाद बुखार उतर गया या उस व्यक्ति को अच्छी फीलिंग होने लगी तो वो सोचता है मैं ठीक हो गया। वो कभी कभी पैसे की वजह से, दवा मान लीजिए महंगी है या किसी दूसरे रीजन से उसको खाने में दिक्कत हो रही है, जाहिर है साइड इफेक्ट भी होते हैं एलोपैथी, तो वो खाना बंद कर देता है। तो जब खाना बंद कर देता है तो बैक्टीरिया उस बीमारी से रेसिस्टेंट हो जाता है और फिर वो बीमारी दोबारा से लौट आती है। अब जब लौट आती है तो जब डॉक्टर के पास दोबारा जाता है तो वो वही दवा आप देखते हैं कि दे रहा है लेकिन उसका कोई असर नहीं हो रहा, और फिर उस व्यक्ति से कोई दूसरा व्यक्ति अगर इन्फेक्ट होता है और डॉक्टर उसको नॉर्मल मेडिकेशन दे रहा है तो उसको बीमारी से रेसिस्टेंट हो जाता है बैक्टीरिया। ये बहुत ही खतरनाक ट्रेंड है जो हमारे भारत में तेजी से बढ़ रहा है, एक चीज। दूसरी चीज जो सवाल आपने पूछा कि अब हम जो दवाइयां हम ले आते हैं उस दवा को अब मान लीजिए उसकी एक्सपायरी डेट निकल गई, उसको खा तो सकते नहीं, तो अब उसका क्या करें? तो उसको कभी भी सॉलिड वेस्ट में, कूड़े में, नाली में, ऐसी जगह पर ना फेंकें। जैसे आप देखती हैं हमारे यहाँ मेडिकल कॉलेजेस या हॉस्पिटल्स होते हैं या पैथोलॉजी लैब्स होते हैं, वहां पर हमारे शहर में जो संस्था होती है, नगर निगम है या नगर पालिका परिषद है, वहां से कूड़ा इकट्ठा करने वाली गाड़ी आती है जो स्पेसिफिकली हैजार्डस वेस्ट और फार्मास्यूटिकल वेस्ट के लिए होती है। वहां पर आप अगर आपके घर के बाहर नहीं आ रही तो आप किसी पैथोलॉजी लैब या हॉस्पिटल में दे दें जाके, वो उसको डिस्पोज ऑफ करा देंगे। और वो इंसिनरेटर एक मशीन होती है जहां पर हाई टेम्परेचर प्रेशर पे इसको डिस्पोज ऑफ करते हैं ताकि पर्यावरण में कोई ओपन में ना जाए और नुकसान ना पहुंचे, हवा पानी के अंदर ना पहुंचे ये केमिकल्स। तो वो आप कर सकते हैं।
सर कोई भी लैब, किसी भी लैब पे जाके हम दे सकते हैं?
हाँ, दे सकते हैं, दे सकते हैं। इसके लिए बाकायदा डिस्ट्रिक्ट मैजिस्ट्रेट ने और नगर निगम ने एक व्यवस्था बनाई हुई है कि आप जाके दे सकते हैं। वो उनके यहाँ पास रेगुलरली, उनके यहाँ क्योंकि एक बायोमेडिकल वेस्ट जनरेट होता है रोज के रोज, बहुत सारे भाई कॉटन स्वैब्स हैं, बैंडेजेस हैं जिसमें बैक्टीरिया होने की संभावना रहती है, तो वो वेस्ट अलग से डिस्पोज ऑफ होता है इंसिनरेटर में। तो वहां पर जाके दे सकते हैं, तो वो उस वेस्ट के साथ उसको डिस्पोज ऑफ कर देंगे और वो उसको जला देंगे फिर। लेकिन
थैंक यू सर।
एनवायरमेंट में नहीं जलाना खुले में, उसको इंसिनरेटर के जरिए इंसिनरेट करना है, ये ध्यान रखना।
Good morning, sir.
No,
I Dr. Ankit Trivedi.
one last question. Yes, Dr. Ankit, please go
Yes,
ahead.
yes. Sir, my question related to malignant and benign sort of disease that you have discussed about. So, what are these diseases and how to crumble them down? And what major resources, what major pollution is responsible for develop malignant disease?
Yes, this is a very diversified topic, and I was telling you that the two ways, the spread of cancer, the scientists and doctors have attributed to two main reasons. One is adulteration of food items that we are eating. Now, every spices, every food that you are eating is adulterated to some degree. Even our life-saving drugs are sometimes found to be adulterated. You take a medicine for fever, and the fever is not coming down. There is a drug for a heart attack patient, which removes the clot in the coronary artery, dissolves it.
Yes,
But there have been cases the patient is taken, but no desirable result is taken. So what are those? These are all adulterated, say, medicines. Similarly, I was focusing on the pollution, the air pollution, water pollution, that are having different types of micropollutants that I have mentioned. That is the heavy metals, the pesticides, the maybe pharmaceutical compounds. There are certain radio. So today we have different activities going all around us that are responsible for creating these micropollutants, and they are finding their way into air as well as water, even groundwater. So these are some of the reasons which are responsible for causing these malignant things and tumors.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you all for joining and having a patient hearing. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
धन्यवाद सर।
सवाल
Thank you, sir.
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 पूरा
Thank you,
जवाब
sir.
दिया गुरुवर।
थैंक यू सर।
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.